Welcome to the deep dive. We look at the invisible forces really shaping our world, uncovering the stories behind key industries. Today, we're digging into something that's uh, quietly changing how we grow food, the controlled release fertilizers market,
Mm.
or CRF. Now, this isn't just about, getting bigger crops. It's about smarter farming, sustainable farming, making sure nutrients get used properly. And ultimately, it's about boosting yields globally, which is crucial. So we're going to unpack the really quite incredible growth here, look at the regional trends,
Hmm.
and try to understand not just what's happening, but why it's so important.
Yeah, and maybe the best place to start is with the overall numbers, just to set the scene. Globally, this market, controlled release fertilizers, brought in, let's see, just under $2.2 billion in revenue back in 2021. But here's the kicker. It's projected to nearly double. Forecasts put it at around $4.3 billion by 2033. That means it's growing at a compound annual growth rate, a CAGR of 5.8%.
Okay, 5.8% CIGR. So doubling in roughly, what, 12 years? That's significant growth.
It is, and it's really driven by a few key things. There's this clear need for, well, better ways to deliver nutrients to plants, more efficient ways, plus a big push for environmental sustainability in farming. And of course, ongoing tech innovation in what we call the agri-input space.
Okay, let's quickly clarify that term, agri-input space. What does that cover exactly?
Right, good point. Basically, it's everything farmers use in the process of growing crops. So seeds, pesticides, water management tech, and yes, fertilizers. CRFs are a really important part of that puzzle. And they work quite differently from, say, traditional fertilizers. Think of it like a slow-release vitamin for your plants.
Okay.
Traditional fertilizers. They dump a lot of nutrients at once, which sounds good, but a lot can get washed away by rain or just evaporate. Wasted money and potentially bad for the environment, right?
The runoff problem.
Exactly.
Huh.
CRFs, though, they're designed smarter. They release nutrients gradually over time. It's time to match what the plant actually needs as it grows. So, less waste, plants absorb more, and it's much kinder to the environment.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Much more targeted. So given that, and looking at these big global growth numbers, where's the action happening? Where are we seeing the most dramatic shifts around the world? And I guess, why there?
Well, the standout region, without a doubt, is Asia Pacific. It's really
Mhm.
dominating the growth story. They started at roughly $796 million in 2021, but they're projected to hit an impressive $1.65 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of over 6.4%, so even faster than the global average.
Wow. Okay, Asia Pacific. So what's fueling that? Is it specific countries really pushing this forward?
Absolutely. This is where it gets really interesting. You've got major players making huge strides. China, for example, they have the highest growth rate in the region, almost 7% CAGR. Their market is set to more than double, from about $309 million to over $667 million.
And why China specifically? Is it policy?
It's heavily influenced by policy, yes. China has a major national strategy focused on food security, obviously, but also reducing agricultural pollution.
Mhm.
So CRFs fit perfectly into their push for what they call precision agriculture, using inputs more efficiently. Then you have India, following very, very closely behind. Their CAGR is just shy of 7% to 6.96%. They're expected to go from about $134 million to over $300 million.
And for India, similar drivers, food security and environment.
Yes, but maybe even more acute. Huge population, rising food demand, and serious environmental pressures. Efficient nutrient use is just critical there. We also see Japan contributing significantly, growing at nearly 6%, and Southeast Asia as a bloc, almost 5.7% growth. But what's also really noteworthy is the rest of APAC category.
Okay.
That segment. So smaller agricultural economies in the region is forecasted to grow at an incredible 9.3% CAGR.
9.3, that's huge.
It is. It's one of the highest rates globally. It shows this isn't just the big players. There's a really broad accelerating adoption happening across the region.
Okay, so Asia Pacific is clearly, like you said, leading the charge, driven by need and policy. What about the more established markets? North America, Europe, how do they fit in? Is it the same kind of rapid growth or something different?
It's a bit different, yeah. North America is still a massive market, very significant. It was around $586 million in 2021, and it's projected to grow to almost $1.1 billion by 2033. The TAGR there is about 5.3%, solid growth, but maybe steadier.
And within North America?
The U.S. is the dominant force, no surprise there, about $459 million in 2021, heading towards $836 million. That's a 5.25% CAGR. Here, I think the growth is more about optimizing large-scale, already quite advanced agriculture. It's about, fine-tuning efficiency, reducing input costs where possible, and definitely meeting stricter environmental regulations. Canada is showing strong growth too, actually a slightly higher CAGR than the US at over 5.7%. And Mexico is solid as well, nearly 5.5%.
So optimization and regulation are key drivers there. What about Europe? Similar picture.
Pretty similar drivers, yes. Europe reported about $470 million in 2021, and it's expected to reach nearly $886 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of 5.6%, so actually slightly higher than North America's overall rate.
Interesting. Which countries are pushing that forward in Europe?
Well, Germany is a major player. They have a really strong CAGR, almost 6%, going from around $96 million to over $190 million. The UK also shows really strong momentum, leading in terms of CAGR at about 5.85%. Their market's set to nearly double, too. Then you've got France, Russia, Spain, all contributing steadily.
And the underlying reason there, again, environmental focus.
Absolutely. Europe has arguably some of the most stringent environmental regulations globally, particularly around agriculture and water quality. CRFs just align perfectly with those goals, reducing nutrient runoff into waterways, using resources more efficiently. It's a natural fit. And similar to APAC, the rest of Europe's segment is also showing impressive growth, over 6.5% CAGR. So again, widespread adoption.
Right. So while Asia Pacific surges with new adoption, Europe and North America are more about, let's say, refinement and meeting those higher standards. So bringing it all together, what about the other emerging regions? South America, the Middle East, Africa, how are they factoring into this global growth story?
They're definitely part of the picture, showing significant potential. South America, for instance, is set to expand quite a bit. From about $129 million in 2021 to over $301 million by 2033. That's a strong CAGR, nearly 6%.
And any standouts there?
Brazil is the powerhouse in that region, growing at over 6.1% CAGR. A lot of that is driven by their huge agricultural sector, needing to boost yields for export markets, but also facing increasing calls for sustainable practices. Then, the Middle East, it's climbing too, from around $109 million to over $193 million. The CAGR is a bit lower, about 4.4%. Saudi Arabia is the largest market there, projected to reach over $75 million.
And the driver there must be resource scarcity, right? Water especially.
Exactly. Water scarcity, arid land. CRFs are really valuable because they help make the absolute most of every drop of water and every bit of nutrient applied. Efficiency is paramount. And finally, Africa. The market there grows from about $96 million to over $189 million by 2033. That's a CAGR of about 5.2%. Nigeria is a key market to watch, growing at over 5.4%. South Africa is also a significant player. For many African nations, the core challenge is improving food security, boosting farm productivity for growing populations. CRFs are a tool to help achieve that, getting more crop per unit of input.
So if you kind of step back and look at all these regional pieces, you really see it's a global trend, isn't it? Yeah. Driven by slightly different local pressures maybe, but heading in the same direction.
Absolutely. It's not just one region driving this. The whole market dynamic is shaped by, well, a few converging forces. You've got evolving farming practices everywhere. You have governments increasingly supporting sustainable agriculture, sometimes through subsidies, sometimes regulations, and just this general global push for agri-inputs that are more efficient and, frankly, better for the environment. This data, these numbers, they really paint a picture of a worldwide shift in how we're approaching food production.
Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. What we've seen is this global controlled release fertilizer market is really transforming. Asia Pacific is clearly the growth engine, driven by sheer need and strong policy pushes. Europe and North America, they're expanding steadily, focusing on optimizing what they already do well and meeting tough environmental targets. And then you have these emerging regions, South America, Middle East, Africa, showing huge potential, adopting CRFs to tackle their specific challenges, whether it's resource limits or the need for greater food security.
Exactly. And this leads to, I think, an important question for you, our listener, to consider. As this market keeps growing, how are different countries going to strike that balance? The balance between economic growth in agriculture and environmental responsibility. And what role specifically do you think these smart fertilizers, these CRFs, will play in navigating that future? It's a complex equation.
Yeah, it really makes you think how this push for sustainable farming might shift these advanced fertilizers from being just, a nice-to-have efficiency booster to becoming an absolute necessity, a core part of how we feed a growing world population, both efficiently and responsibly. It certainly gives you a different perspective on what's happening just beneath the soil. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into controlled release fertilizers, or CRFs as you'll hear them called.
Okay.
Our mission really is to unpack what's driving their growth, what's holding them back, and the exciting trends shaping their future, all based on the source material we've looked at.
That's a fascinating area.
It really is. We'll touch on how these things affect global food supply, environmental protection, and maybe even, keeping your local golf course looking sharp, which, let's face it, is probably quite relevant for some of us. So let's get into it.
Okay.
Let's kick things off with probably the biggest growth driver our sources point to, this huge demand for better crop yields.
Yeah, that's fundamental.
I mean, you look at the global population rising, food security becoming this massive priority.
Yeah.
Farmers are just under incredible pressure to get more out of every field.
Constant pressure.
And this is where CRX come in, right? They're designed to feed nutrients, well, efficiently, straight to the plant roots.
Directly, yeah.
Which cuts down massively on nutrients getting washed away, that's leaching or escaping as gas, which is volatilization.
Both big problems with conventional fertilizers.
Exactly. So the result, you get stronger plants, healthier plants, and the big one, more yield.
Hmm.
And this is especially true for like high intensity farming or those really high value crops where even a small yield increase means big money.
It's true. And what's interesting is how CRFs tackle that dual challenge, boosting productivity, but also using resources much more efficiently.
Right. Efficiency is key.
It's not just more food. It's
Yeah.
getting those yields with potentially less water, maybe less land impact overall, making every input count. It's a smart way to farm.
And that idea of efficiency using resources well, it leads us straight into the next big factor, environmental regulations.
Ah, yes. The regulatory landscape.
Governments, environmental agencies, they're getting much stricter about things like nitrogen runoff polluting waterways or greenhouse gas emissions from farming.
Understandably so.
And CRFs, well, they fit pretty neatly into this picture. They offer a way to farm more sustainably because they inherently leak less nitrogen and reduce those emissions.
They align well with the goals.
Plus, our sources mention that in many places there are actual subsidies or incentives to use them, especially in areas already dealing with nutrient pollution problems.
Those incentives can definitely help speed things up. But I do sometimes wonder, if they risk creating a sort of dependency.
That's a fair point. Do they solve the underlying cost issue long term?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's complex. But looking bigger picture, this regulatory push is definitely steering agriculture towards lower impact methods. It's fostering or maybe forcing a move towards real environmental stewardship.
Yeah, it's definitely a system-wide nudge.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit to something always exciting, the technology, the actual formulation of these fertilizers. What breakthroughs are really making a difference now?
Oh, there's some really cool stuff happening. The coatings are a major area of innovation. We're seeing biodegradable coatings becoming more common.
So they just break down naturally, no plastic residue.
Precisely. Addressing that microplastic concern head on. Then there's multi-nutrient encapsulation,
Meaning?
meaning they can pack several different essential nutrients into one tiny pellet, all designed to release at the right time for the plant.
That seems incredibly precise.
It is.
Yeah.
And you also have advanced polymer layers being developed that control the release over even longer periods, very predictably.
So fewer applications needed.
Fewer applications, longer nutrient availability, and you can really tailor them to specific crops or soil conditions. It makes CRFs much more versatile and effective.
Okay, so we've got better yields, environmental benefits, amazing tech. You'd think CRFs would be everywhere, right?
Logically, yes. But
But yeah, there are hurdles.
yeah,
And the big one, the one everyone mentions first, is cost, both the product itself and applying it.
it's the elephant in the room.
Our sources are pretty clear making these things is just more expensive. You need sophisticated materials, complex manufacturing processes,
Hmm.
and that higher upfront cost. It's a major barrier for, say, smallholder farmers or in markets where every penny counts, even if they might save money down the line.
Right. The long-term ROI might be there, but that initial investment is tough.
That gap between conventional fertilizer prices and CRF prices is still significant.
It really is a classic case of the innovator's dilemma, isn't it?
How so?
Well, you have a superior technology, potentially reduces labor, fewer passes over the field, better yields, but it comes with that higher initial price tag.
And that slows down adoption.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially in agriculture, where margins can be so tight, The value is there, but getting over that first cost hurdle is the challenge.
And it's not just the money, is it? Another challenge seems to be just awareness and technical know-how, particularly in developing regions.
Yes, the knowledge gap is real.
Our sources suggest many farmers just don't know the benefits, or maybe they don't know how to use CRFs correctly to get those benefits.
Or they're skeptical, perhaps sticking to what they know.
Right. Which leads to them not being used, or being used improperly, which then reinforces the skepticism. It underlines how much the industry needs to invest in, education, training, outreach programs.
Absolutely. That human element is critical for any new technology.
Mhm.
You have to build confidence, show people it works in their situation, overcome that natural hesitation. It's about trust, fundamentally.
And then there's this other layer of complexity, the lack of consistent regulations across different regions.
Oh, that's a big one. A real headache for manufacturers.
It seems like a patchwork quilt. Our sources talk about inconsistent definitions like what even counts as an eco-friendly fertilizer can differ from place to place.
Yeah, it's like playing a game where the rule book changes depending on where you are.
So how does that fragmentation actually impact the market?
Well, it's more than just annoying. It's a systemic barrier.
Mm.
Think about it. It causes massive delays in getting products registered and approved for sale.
Slows everything down.
Hugely. It creates uncertainty, which discourages R&D investment. And it makes it incredibly hard for companies to sell their products internationally and scale up.
So it directly hinders growth and innovation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It stops these potentially valuable tools from reaching farmers who could benefit as quickly as they might otherwise.
Wow. Okay. So quite a few challenges. But the picture isn't all hurdles. The future seems pretty dynamic, driven by some really interesting trends.
Definitely. There's a lot of positive momentum, too.
The first one that jumps out is how CRFs are getting integrated with precision agriculture.
Yes, this is a powerful combination.
We're talking GPS-guided spreaders,
Yeah.
smart irrigation that adjusts based on need, soil sensors connected to the internet, the whole IoT thing.
Mhm.
These tools let farmers apply fertilizers with incredible accuracy, right down to specific zones in a field based on real-time data.
Mm.
How does that change things for CRFs?
It amplifies their benefits exponentially. It's a perfect synergy.
Yeah.
Instead of just spreading fertilizer evenly.
Which is often wasteful.
Right. Precision ag allows for variable rate application. You put exactly the right amount, exactly where it's needed, exactly when it's needed.
Tailored nutrition, basically.
Precisely. Which means the plant takes up way more of the nutrients, you waste far less, and the environmental impact drops dramatically. It's about integrating CRFs into a much smarter, data-driven farming system.
Very cool.
Huh.
Okay, another trend moving things forward. This growing demand for organic and bio-based coatings on the fertilizer pellets themselves.
Yes, driven largely by consumer awareness and demand.
People want cleaner food, more sustainable farming. So manufacturers are developing coatings from things like natural polymers, stuff that biodegrades easily.
It's a direct response.
Yeah.
And it aligns CRFs much more closely with organic farming standards and addresses those worries about microplastics we mentioned earlier.
So it makes them more attractive.
Definitely. More appealing to eco-conscious farmers, consumers, and even regulators. It broadens their appeal and helps position them as a truly green technology in many cases.
Okay, and the final trend we ticked up on really expands where we're seeing CRFs used. They're moving beyond traditional big field agriculture.
Right, into non-traditional segments.
Things like managing turf on golf courses or sports fields, high-end ornamental landscaping, specialty horticulture. Think fancy greenhouses or specific vegetable farms.
These are becoming significant markets.
Why are CRFs such a good fit there?
Well, think about it. Those areas demand absolute consistency and perfect plant health. Aesthetics are crucial.
Can't have patchy spots on the 18th green.
Exactly. CRFs offer that precise, controlled, consistent nutrient delivery they need. Plus, the labor savings from fewer applications are often highly valued in those sectors.
So these niche markets are actually quite valuable.
Very much so. They're often high-margin opportunities. It really demonstrates that the value of controlled release isn't limited to commodity crops. It's finding powerful applications in specialized areas, really broadening the whole industry's scope.
So wrapping things up, it seems the controlled release fertilizer market is really at this interesting crossroads shaped by, well, innovation, sustainability pressures, and just how farming itself is changing.
That sums it up well. And yes, the cost issues and regulatory inconsistencies are real challenges that need tackling. but the overall direction feels clearly upward. It's driven by that powerful combination of better technology, environmental responsibility, and finding new ways, new places to use these fertilizers effectively.
So, as we've explored, controlled release fertilizers sit right at the intersection of major global challenges feeding people, protecting the planet. Thinking about all this, what really stands out to you personally about how these advanced solutions might reshape farming and maybe even the landscapes around us in the years ahead? Something for you, our listener, to ponder. We definitely encourage you to keep exploring these connections between tech, the environment, and how we produce our food.